Hello and welcome to Workers Comp Unwrapped, the podcast that simplifies workers' compensation for physicians. I'm your host, Max, here to give you clear, actionable insights to navigate the medical legal side of workers' comp. So let's get started. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 22 of Workers Comp Unwrapped. I'm Max, your host.
And I'm Aisha. It's great to be here. I've been working in the workers' comp industry for about 15 years now.
Fantastic. Today we are talking about when to involve utilization review in workers' comp cases. And if you're a healthcare provider dealing with California workers' comp, you are. Well, let's be honest, it probably feels less like a review and more like a constant fight, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a fight on two fronts, really. Getting your patients the care they actually need, and then, frankly, just getting paid for the services you provide. It's tough.
It really is. It's set up as this, mandatory check, but in practice, it feels like this huge hurdle put up by someone who isn't even treating the patient.
Exactly. The official purpose is to make sure treatment is medically necessary and to manage costs, all based on the state's rule book, the Medical Treatment Utilization Schedule, or MTUS.
Right, the MTUS.
Yep.
But the everyday experience for doctors is having your clinical judgment questioned by, well, an outside entity.
Yeah.
It's a huge source of frustration.
It's an inherent tension, isn't it? You're the one examining the patient, you know the history, but someone else holds the approval stamp.
And that's exactly why we're diving deep today. Our mission, really, is to give you, the healthcare provider in California, some practical tools, some real strategies to cut through the confusion surrounding UR.
Yeah, because over the years, you see what works. You learn how to navigate it, how to fight denials effectively, and set yourself up for better outcomes.
So think of this as your essential survival guide for the UR system. We're going to cover when you need to engage UR, how to do it right, and how to get those approvals and payments flowing.
So you can shift your focus back to, patient care and running your practice instead of constantly battling the paperwork.
Exactly. And look, the advice here isn't just gut feeling. It's based on, years of experience, but also the actual regulations, California Labor Code 4610, all that good stuff. So let's get started.
Let's do it. First things first. What is utilization review according to the law? Labor Code 4610 defines it, and the key word is mandatory. It's a process claims administrators have to use for reviewing requests for non-emergency medical treatment.
Mandatory. Okay, so no getting around it.
Not really, no. It's not optional for the insurance side. And their decision has to be based on medical necessity, defined strictly by those MTUS guidelines.
Okay, so the system is designed for appropriateness, cost control, but that core conflict remains. The non-treating person making the call. Feels like a setup for arguments.
It definitely can be. Which brings us to, I think, the absolute golden rule of UR in California workers' comp. If you take one thing away...
Okay, lay it on us. What's the rule?
You must get UR approval before providing any non-emergency medical treatment. Pretty much full stop.
Any. Really? Are there no exceptions, like situations where you can just treat?
Very, very few. A genuine life or limb emergency that doesn't need prior authorization.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the very first consultation or evaluation for that injury, that initial visit is usually okay.
Right.
And the only other one is if the claims administrator has given you explicit written pre-authorization for something specific.
So unless it's truly an emergency, that first look, or you have it signed, sealed, delivered in writing from the adjuster, you need UR approval.
That's the safest way to operate, yes.
And if you don't, if you go ahead with, say, physical therapy or order an MRI without that prior UR approval,
what happens that now, right?
It's really bad. Yeah. It's worse than just a delay.
It's how bad?
Payment is automatically denied.
Automatically, like no recourse.
Automatically. And here's the kicker. You can't appeal that denial based on the fact you didn't get prior authorization. If you didn't ask first, you don't get paid. End of story.
Wow. Okay. So understanding when and how to trigger UR isn't just good admin. It's absolutely fundamental to getting paid in California workers' comp. It's foundational. This isn't just bureaucracy. It's protecting your revenue for the care you deliver. So let's get practical. When exactly does a provider need to fill out and send that request for authorization, the RFA form?
Right. What are the triggers? I think the safest bet is just assume that any treatment plan beyond that very first visit or immediate first aid probably needs an RFA. Be proactive. Don't wait.
So basically, almost everything after the initial consult.
Pretty much, yeah. Think about it.
Yeah.
Any planned surgery
Yeah.
definitely needs UR.
Yep.
Major tests like MRIs or CT scans absolutely need an RFA beforehand. Physical therapy, there's an initial grace period, but after that, yes.
Okay, what's that grace period for PT, OT, Chiro? I know there's a number.
Yeah, labor code 46004.5D. It allows for the first 24 visits combined, that's PT, OT, and chiropractic care, together for that injury without needing prospective UR.
24 combined. Okay.
But the minute you're planning this at number 25,
Yeah.
you need an RFA, and every single visit after that 24th one needs prior UR approval.
That's a really important detail, easy to miss. What else needs an RFA?
Durable medical equipment, DME. So special braces, maybe a wheelchair, TNS units, all need authorization. Referring a patient to a specialist, that needs an RFA too. Even medications, particularly long-term ones or anything not on the standard formulary, often require UR approval.
Okay, that list covers a lot. It really shows how much UR touches. So once you know you need the RFA, how do you actually submit it? Fax? Email?
The methods are pretty standard. Fax is still very common. Many carriers now have electronic portals, which can be efficient.
Yeah, those can be good for tracking.
Right. And you always have certified mail as an option.
Which gives you that solid proof of delivery.
Exactly, and that's the critical part. Regardless of how you send it, fax, portal, mail, you absolutely must keep undeniable proof of submission.
Like the fax confirmation page.
Yes, or the electronic receipt with a date and timestamp, or that green return receipt card from certified mail. Keep those religiously, because you will eventually run into the, oh, we never got that RFA situation.
Happens all the time. That proof is your defense. Okay, so RFA submitted, proof in hand. What about timelines? How long do they have to respond? This affects everything.
Super important. This is, let's call it key fact number 2. Once the claims administrator receives a complete RFA, and complete is key, they have 5 business days to respond.
5 business days. Okay. And what does a response mean? Approve or deny?
They have 3 options within those 5 days. 1, approve it. 2, deny it. Or 3, tell you they need more information to make a decision.
Ah, the request for more info. Does that buy them more time?
It does. If they request more information, the clock resets, sort of. They then get another 14 calendar days, not business days, starting from the date they actually receive the additional info you send them. Then they have to approve or deny.
14 calendar days. Okay, so that whole process could stretch out weeks if they ask for more info. That's tough on patients waiting for care. But what if the insurance company just misses the deadline? They don't respond in 5 days. They don't ask for more info. Anything happen then?
Yes. And this is a big one. This is where the Dubon second case comes in, and it's now part of the regulations, CCR 9792.9.1. It creates consequences for them if they miss these deadlines.
Ubanteisho. I've heard that mentioned. That's the deemed authorized thing.
Exactly. Deemed authorization. If the claims administrator blows past that 5 business day deadline or the 14 calendar day deadline after getting more info, and they haven't properly notified you about a delay or needing info, that treatment request can be automatically considered approved, deemed authorized.
Automatically approved just because they missed the deadline.
Well, you have to assert it. But yes, if you have your proof you sent a complete RFA on time, and proof they didn't respond on time, you have a very strong legal basis to say this treatment is authorized by default due to your delay.
Okay, so keeping meticulous records isn't just CYA. It's actually leverage. You can turn their mistake into an approval.
Huge leverage. Documenting everything perfectly, submission date, method, completeness, it's crucial. It flips their delay into your advantage. Don't just see deadlines as their job, see them as your opportunity if they slip up.
That's powerful if providers know about it and track carefully.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know when to send it, how, the timelines, even the insurer missing deadlines. Now, the frustrating part. Why do RFAs get denied? What are the common trip-ups?
Right, key fact number 3, common reasons for denial. A huge chunk of denials are actually down to simple errors or omissions on the RFA form itself. Just incomplete paperwork.
Like forgetting the patient's date of birth or something.
Exactly. Missing patient details, using an old or wrong ICD-10 code, not being specific enough about the treatment, just saying physical therapy instead of physical therapy 3 times a week for 4 weeks, focusing on, or even just forgetting the doctor's signature. Simple stuff, but it stops the whole process.
So every box, every detail matters.
Totally. Every blank field is basically an invitation for them to deny it, or at least kick it back, asking for more info, which just delays care. Having a solid internal check to make sure every RFA is perfect before it goes out, that's probably the best thing you can do. Another big reason for denial is not enough supporting medical documentation.
Meaning you didn't really prove why the treatment is necessary for this patient.
Precisely. The UR reviewer needs to see the logic. They need your chart notes, exam findings, history, maybe test results that clearly show why this specific treatment is medically necessary right now.
You have to connect the dots for them in the records. You can't just ask for surgery. You have to show the clinical findings that lead to that recommendation.
And ideally, link it back to the MTUS guidelines if you can. If what you're asking for fits the guidelines, point that out.
Which brings up another issue, right? Asking for stuff outside the MTUS guidelines.
Yeah, that's a common reason for denial too. If you are asking for something not typically recommended by MTUS, you absolutely must provide a really strong evidence-based reason why it's necessary for this specific patient's unique situation. You need to justify going off book. Okay, that makes sense. Any other big denial reasons?
Submitting it late. Trying to get retroactive approval for non-emergency care you already provided. That's almost always a no, unless there was some truly unavoidable reason you couldn't submit it beforehand.
So getting approval isn't just about whether the treatment is medically right. It's just as much, maybe more, about the paperwork being perfect and the justification being crystal clear.
That's exactly it. Attention to detail on the front end is critical.
Okay, so let's nail this down. For everyone listening, what are the absolute must-have elements on every single RFA to avoid those administrative denials?
Okay, yeah. The regs, CCR 9792.6.1, spell it out. You absolutely need. Number 1, complete and accurate patient info name, DOB, claim number if you have it. 2, the right current ICD-10 codes for the diagnosis. 3, a very specific description of the treatment, what procedure, where on the body, medication dose and frequency, number of PT visits, be exact. No vagueness.
Got it. What else? That's 3.
4, the treating doctor's signature and the date. Sounds basic, but it gets missed. And 5, crucially, attach the relevant supporting medical records. The notes, the reports, whatever proves why this is medically necessary for this patient now. Don't make them guess or dig for it. Include it.
And missing even one of those.
You're just asking for a denial or at least a delay. It gives them an easy reason to say no, often just on administrative grounds, which we'll get to, has a different path forward.
That checklist is gold.
Okay.
But say you do everything right. Perfect RFA, solid medical justification, submitted on time, and bam, you still get a denial letter. If UR says no based on medical necessity, what can you do? Okay,
so if the denial reason is medical necessity, meaning they disagree with your clinical judgment, your next step is the independent medical review process, IMR.
IMR. What is that exactly?
It's basically a second opinion from an outside, unbiased doctor. Your request gets sent to an independent physician reviewer who wasn't involved in the first decision. They look at everything and decide if the treatment is medically necessary. It's meant to be fair.
Okay, an independent review. Is there a deadline to ask for IMR?
Yes, and this one is absolutely critical. You only have 30 days.
Wow, just 30 days.
30 days from the date that's printed on the UR denial letter. You have to get your application for IMR submitted within that 30-day window.
That's tight. No wiggle room there.
Almost none. Miss that deadline, and you generally lose your right to appeal that specific denial. Mark your calendar the day you get the denial.
Okay, so when you apply for IMR, do you just send the same stuff you sent originally? Or is there a better way?
You can just send the same stuff, but that's probably not the best strategy. Think of IMR as your chance to strengthen your argument. Look closely at why they denied it in the first place. Did the UR letter mention missing evidence? Did it question your rationale? Use the IMR submission to directly address those specific points. Add any new test results, updated notes, or a clear explanation to really bolster the case for medical necessity.
So it's like a rebuttal. You target the reasons they gave for saying no.
Exactly. It's your chance to make an even stronger, more focused case, knowing exactly what objections you need to overcome.
What are the odds, realistically? Does IMR overturn a lot of denials?
Honestly, not really high. The statistics usually show somewhere around only 10 to 15% of UR denials get overturned by IMR, maybe slightly higher some years, but generally in that range.
Oof, 10 to 15%, that's pretty low.
It is, and it really hammers home why getting that initial RFA submission right, complete, accurate, well-justified, is so incredibly important. IMR shouldn't be your main plan. It's the fallback when something truly necessary gets unfairly denied.
Right. Front load the effort on the RFA itself. Okay, let's hit some common questions providers have. Things that keep coming up.
Good idea. Let's clarify some confusion. Physical therapy, we touched on it, but let's be crystal clear. Do you always need an RFA for PT?
Mostly yes, but remember that initial window. Labor Code 4604.5D,
Yeah.
first 24 visits combined, PT-OT career for that injury, don't need prospective UR.
Okay, so those first 24 are kind of freebies in terms of UR.
The sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
But the crucial point is visit number 25, and every single visit after that. Each one needs its own prior UR approval via an RFA. People forget that threshold all the time and then wonder why therapy bills get denied later.
That 24 visit line is critical. Under next, let's circle back to Dubon II and deemed authorization. Can you give a real-world example of how a provider uses that?
Sure. Let's say you fax a complete RFA on Monday morning, get the confirmation sheet. By the next Monday afternoon, 5 business days later, you've heard nothing. No approval, no denial, no request for more info. If you have that fax confirmation proving you sent it and you've received 0 communication back, then under Dubon II and the regulations, you can argue the treatment is deemed authorized.
But you have to do something, right? It doesn't just magically happen.
Correct. It's not automatic. You need to assert it.
Yeah.
So you likely proceed with the treatment. If they later deny payment, saying no auth, you respond formally. Citing Dubon II, CCR 9792.9.1, provide your proof of timely RFA submission and state they missed their deadline, therefore it's deemed authorized. Your paperwork is your weapon here.
So careful tracking lets you hold their feet to the fire if they mess up administratively.
Got it.
Okay, another one. Can you appeal every denial through IMR? If UR says no, is IMR always the answer?
No, not always. It depends entirely on why they denied it.
What's the difference?
If the denial is about medical necessity, the UR doc disagrees that the treatment is needed, then yes, IMR is usually the way to go. But if it's an administrative denial,
Meaning, the problem wasn't the medical need, it was the form itself, like incomplete info.
exactly. RFA rejected because it was missing the signature, or you used the wrong code, or left a box blank, those kinds of administrative screw-ups, you generally can't appeal those through IMR.
So what do you do then, if it's denied for being incomplete?
You fix it, you correct the RFA form, fill in the missing piece, make sure it's perfect, and then you resubmit a brand new correct RFA. You don't appeal the admin denial, you fix the problem and start the RFA process over. Knowing why it was denied is step 1.
That's a huge distinction. Medical versus administrative denials need different fixes. Okay, this brings us to medical legal management services, MLM companies. How can using a service like that actually help doctors deal with all this UR stuff?
That's a really relevant question because these services specialize in exactly this. MLM services focus on the administrative, the regulatory side of workers' comp, and UR is a huge part of that. They can definitely help improve approval rates and protect the practice's finances.
So they kind of take over the UR paperwork headaches.
Pretty much, yeah. A big part of their job is making sure every RFA that leaves the doctor's office is bulletproof before it's sent. They check for completeness, correct codes, make sure all the supporting docs are attached, signatures there, all the things we just talked about.
Acting like a quality control check to prevent those admin denials.
Exactly. They catch errors before the carrier does. Plus, good MLM services use tracking systems. They watch those UR deadlines like hawks the 5-day window, the 14-day window.
Ah, so they can help catch when the insurer misses a deadline.
Precisely. They can flag those situations for the provider, giving them the ammo, the documentation to potentially claim deemed authorization under Dubon II. They help you build that case when the insurer fails to act on time.
Okay, makes sense. And if a denial does happen based on medical necessity, what about IMR? Experienced MLM services know the IMR process inside and out. They know how to put together a strong appeal package, making sure it directly answers the reasons for the denial, includes all the right evidence, and, crucially, gets filed before that 30-day deadline expires. They manage that whole appeal process. So essentially, they handle the complex, time-sucking admin work.
Which frees up the doctor and the clinical team to actually focus on treating patients. It cuts down on errors, reduces lost money from denials that could have been prevented, and helps get necessary treatments approved and paid faster. For practices drowning in UR paperwork, partnering with an MLM can be a really smart strategic decision.
Yeah, using specialists to handle the specialized stuff. Makes sense. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the absolute #1 thing you want California providers to take away about UR?
If there's just one core message, it's this. UR is mandatory. It's complicated. Yes, it's often incredibly frustrating, but engaging with it proactively, learning the rules, the RFA details, the timelines, and being obsessive about documentation, that's not optional. It's the fundamental key to getting approvals and getting paid for the care you give injured workers. It's just the reality you have to master.
And your final piece of advice. For providers out there feeling the pain.
Honestly, you have 2 choices. Either invest the serious time and effort to become a true UR expert in-house, making sure your whole team gets it, or partner with outside experts who already are like a good MLM service. Don't ever assume that just because treatment is needed, it'll get approved automatically. It often won't. You have to be proactive, stay informed, and document everything. That's how you navigate this system successfully.
Solid advice. And if you are feeling buried by RFAs and denials, remember, help is out there. Resources like MLM services exist for this reason. So until next time, get those RFAs in early, document everything meticulously, and follow up relentlessly on anything pending. That wraps up our look at utilization review on Workers Comp Unwrapped.
Thank you for listening to Workers Comp Unwrapped. If you found value in today's episode, share it with your fellow medical providers and healthcare specialists. For more information, contact us at lena.klein@medicallienmgt.com or visit our website, medicallienmgt.com.